So as we talk about calling 911, they will ask us to describe what we're seeing. So there's smoke color, there's the amount of smoke, there's the movement, and there's the source type. Like sometimes you can see where it's coming from, sometimes you can't. But that information tells 911 what they're dealing with and how intense and serious it is at the time. Kind of in general, the darker colors usually means that it's super active or structures going up. So when you see those huge wildfires and you're watching the camera and you see the black inside of the huge white plumes, that's generally a car or a structure or something like that. So this is something just to start thinking about. Nobody's going to test you on it. There's no pop quiz, but it's just helpful. I found it helpful to sort of understand the different kinds of smoke and what it means. The other thing, a couple of years ago, I was told, because I deal with the fire agencies quite a bit, I was told that we in UBET call 911 and we really don't do a very good job, and that we have incomplete information or inaccurate information. And so a couple of weeks ago, when Heather, Mike, and I were at the Emergency Command Center, I asked their communications director to send me an email on how should we be calling 911. So we've turned that into a wildfire and smoke specific kind of flyer that I'll be emailing out to everyone. And it's a nice sort of cheat sheet for how we should be prepared to call 911, whether it's through the smoke sensors or if we're just traveling around, and what they're going to ask us and how we can be clear and brief and more descriptive and accurate when we call them to help get them here faster. So real quickly, I wanted to talk about the California wildfire ignition sources, because the other thing is, like, what kind of fires are we going to be looking for? So the first thing to know is that 95% of fire starts are caused by people. We're responsible for almost every single fire that starts. Of the people-caused fires, this is some data from a combination of CAL FIRE and the U.S. Forest Service. And California specific, by the way. This is California data, and most of the fires are started through equipment use and or debris burning, escape burn piles. And in UBET, we do get a ton of those. It's always unintentional. I thought it was out, or I just turned my back, or whatever it might be. Equipment use, the common things are typically power mowers or lawn mowers or weed whacking and creating sparks on rocks. A lot of fires start when they're just driving along in Penn Valley, for example. They've got seated lawnmowers, they hit a spark, they don't even know it behind them. And so these things happen. So from an equipment use perspective, that's why you're always seeing CAL FIRE talk about start your mowing first thing in the morning and be done by 10 a.m. when it's cooler. You don't want to be doing that in the afternoon. So all these other reasons are how human caused fires start. And then we have in the UBET area, natural causes. So the other 4 or 5% of fires are typically lightning. And where does lightning occur? Remote, high elevation areas, late summer, early fall. So we get those summer storms and we do get lightning fires. So our neighbor Brad, the Buff Red Dog, he had a lightning fire during an immense rainstorm a couple summers ago. And Mike was headed over there and he's the one who discovered it. And so they had, they did response. They called 911, but they were, creating a tractor line to create access for them and so forth and so on. The key thing here that I just learned recently is that once you have that lightning fire, or lightning strike, the fires could actually smolder and not even be noticed for 2 to 3 days after the lightning. So that's where these smoke sensors really come in handy. And I would say that, like, if we get one of those storms, those of us who are tracking these alerts should be sort of like waiting to see if, scanning over our back deck, looking out and saying, okay, what do we see? And then if there's a smoke alert that comes along with it, there's a good chance it could have been a lightning strike. So we start to become more sort of aware of what causes these fire starts, and we can put 2 and 2 together. So in UBET, I've kind of created a top, I don't know how many there are, a top hit list, if you will, of what I think are the most ignitions that I've seen over the last 7 years. These are really the reasons why our fires have mostly started. So it is equipment, escape burn piles, lightning, campground fires, dragging chains, and that's obviously a huge risk factor for us since we dead end in the Peninsula Campground, right? And so you've got a lot of out of town visitors with RVs towing boats and trailers and things of that nature. So we get a lot of chains, and that goes along with vehicle sparks. And of course, we have quite a few illegal campers. There's rumors right now of somebody who's, quote, living in the woods. And so those folks, think legally they can do a warming fire, even though they're illegally camping, and that puts us at risk. So we need to be on the lookout for those kinds of things.